The last step before starting the procedure is setting the fixation and other options. Let's start from the fixation point options. First, we can set its color. For example, let's say it would be gray. Fixation point color is not connected to any of the luminance scales, so after choosing desired color, we should measure its luminance individually. We can do this by clicking the equality button and measure luminance of the box displayed in a new window. After measurement, enter its result to the box below, for example 100, and click Save. We can also set fixation point size and change its location on the screen. Let's make our fixation now a little smaller, for example half of the degree, and let's move it 15 degrees from the center to the right. In case I would like to move it to the left from the center, I should add minus sign to the value I've just entered. Now, Specvis has the possibility to monitor the patient's fixation. The user can choose from two available techniques. First is called blind spot. We can select it from the box above. This technique monitors fixation by displaying predefined stimulus in the predefined visual field location, assumed to be the location of the patient's blind spot representation. If patient answers to this monitoring fixation stimuli, then we assume, Specvis assume, that patient lost his fixation. Let's go to its settings. First of all, we can change the assumed location of the patient's blind spot representation. It is necessary to say that these values stands for average location of the blind spot in most humans. They may vary in individuals, and each user should consider changing them for each patient. We can also set monitor stimulus characteristics and decide how often it should be displayed on the screen. For example, selecting this option and setting its value to 10 will result in displaying monitor stimulus every 10 normal stimuli. And from the other hand, selecting the second option will cause monitor stimulus to be displayed after 1 to 10 normal stimuli, where it will be a random value from mentioned range. In the second tab pane, we can decide if Specvis should display some feedback message to the patient if it lost its fixation. Beside of the text of the message, we can also set its font size, font weight, font color, message background color for the message, background size of the message, and also the distance of the message from the fixation point. We can also set the time interval between the displaying the message and displaying the next normal stimulus. We can also preview the location of our message. Like we can see our fixation point moved 15 degrees to the right from the center of the screen. We can also see our message box in the shape and form and look how it will be displayed during the procedure for the patient. And we can also see the assumed blind spot location, where the monitor stimulus will be displayed. In order to leave this preview view, just hit Escape button. If we are satisfied by the settings, we can click Save. Now, the second monitor fixation technique is fixation point change technique. This method monitors fixation by changing fixation point characteristics such as color and size, and obligates patient to answer to these changes. If patient do not answer, then Specvis assume that fixation has been lost. Let's move to the settings of this technique now. Like we can see, we can decide here how often Specvis should monitor the fixation, and we can also change the characteristics of the changed fixation point. We can also measure its luminance and save measured value of the luminance. The tap pane message after loss of fixation is the same as in the blind spot technique. There's nothing new about it here. So we can save and close. Before starting the procedure, we have to choose one. In order to do so, we have to click the procedure box and select the desired one. We can also modify settings of the chosen procedure. To do so, just click Settings button. For the procedure basic, we can modify just two parameters. We can decide if tested brightness values should be spread logarithmically and how long the vector of those values should be. For more information about this procedure, you can go to the Specvis website. There in the documentation you can read more about it. And last thing to do before starting the procedure is to setting the keyboard keys for the procedure. We can set three keys. We have to specify the answer to stimulus key, pause procedure key, and cancel procedure key. In practice, the only key for the patient, which will be used in the procedure, during the procedure, is the answer to stimulus key. Pause procedure key and cancel procedure key should be used only by the experimentator or person who conducted the test. In case everything is ready, we can go next and start the procedure.